Welcome to Sense of Style. I'm Stuart and it's fall. This is the best time of year to wear fragrances. Why? Because now you can break out your ouds, your leather, your incense, your spices. You can bring out your resins. You can bring it all out, your entire fragrance collection. It is now a smorgasbord of delights. You can always wear this in warmer weather, but it's a lot harder. Now it's not. Now you can wear anything without having to think about it. I wait for this time of year all year. Fragrance number one proves that Hugo Boss is doing really well. It's Boss Bottle Absolu 2024. Why do I say that? Because this thing performs like a monster. This is clearly aimed at the niche market. I get 16 to 18 hours on Tuesday. I put this on one spray on my hand. Tuesday around noonish. The next morning I woke up, I could still smell it on my hand. It was very faint, but it was there. I didn't have to bury my nose. 16 to 18 hours. The fragrance oil concentration here is bordering on 20%. It's absolutely nuts. Fragrance houses only do that when they know they've got the regular guy wrapped up. They're going for the high-end market. They're trying to expand their base. They want this to compete with people that buy niche fragrances, and the best way to do that is to blow people out of the water with performance, and they've done it here. Now, I got to admit, when this came out, I did not think this would be the powerhouse that it is, because I've lost track of what it means to be a super strong fragrance. It used to be Parfums, then it became elixirs. Now it's Absolu, for at least for Hugo Boss, I guess. Yeah, so it was really confusing. But yes, more than just the powerful nature of it. It's a very dark, sweet fragrance with some bite. It opens with what people are calling a roasted leather accord. It's incense and leather. The mid is patchouli and myrrh. Now, patchouli is a dark woody note. Myrrh is a dark resin. So far, we are 4 for 4 with dark notes. You've got Davana and cedar in the base. Now, a little word about Davana. It's not used very often. People get confused about it. I was confused about it for the longest time. Think a boozy plum. It's sort of a darkish kind of plum or apricot note. That's what you're getting. And unfortunately for me, it kind of wrecks it a little bit early on. So the first couple of hours, that Davana note, it kind of bugs me. I'm not a fan. But as I said before, if you're wearing a fragrance for 16 hours, and I think about 8 hours of projection, that's fine. 2 hours I can live with, but after that it dies down. It's not quite as sweet and it becomes appealing. And I think most people absolutely love it. If you don't, it certainly won't be for the performance. Fragrance number two is a traitor to its name. This is Jean Paul Gaultier's Scandal Le Parfum, and this fragrance is far from scandalous. Now, the original Scandal, the Eau de Toilette, sure, because what is this? This is tonka drowning in caramel. It is very sweet. It is very sticky. It projects like a beast. It is a youthful fun. Sure, it's a scandalous fragrance, but this is the EDT all cleaned up, all corrected, smells much more refined. It is not scandalous in the slightest, because instead of it being drowning in caramel, you get a nice powdery sandalwood in the base. You get a fresh floral geranium in the open. And so the tonka here, it's a much more respectable tonka. Really good performance, still really pleasant fragrance, but I think they fixed a lot of the errors, or, well, it depends on your perspective. They cleaned a lot of things up here. Now, the thing I really like about the Scandal line is the fact that everything in it, including the Eau de Toilette, uses tonka. There's no vanilla to be seen, unlike the Le Male line, which is just like, we're just going to blow people away with sweetness. So the tonka here is more sophisticated. I mean, the Eau de Toilette kind of wrecks it with the caramel, but this doesn't, because tonka has coumarin in it, and coumarin has a hay-like sweetness, a little bit like an almond. So it tones down the sweetness, adds a powdery element. You can have a powdery vanilla, but tonka is much more likely to be powdery. More sophisticated, more reasonable, and this is the king of Scandal. In the 2010s, Guerlain, one of the most iconic French fragrance houses on earth, they're going to turn 200 in 2028. They were struggling though. Their old fragrances, things like Habit Rouge, that was popular in the 60s and 70s, and L'Instant de Guerlain, that was in the early 2000s. They didn't have anything. So they came out with the Ideal line, and the original 2014 version, the Eau de Toilette, was very meh. I saw some really scathing articles on it. I will post one and put a link in the description. However, in 2016, they made up for it. They came out with L'Homme Ideal Eau de Parfum, the famous cherry note, and it blew everyone away. And the proof of the pudding here is Fragrantica has the greatest fragrance of all time lists every year for the last 7 years. And this fragrance has never finished worse than 23rd. And on average, of those 7 years, it's finished in 20th place. This is a top 20 men's fragrance of all time. And this is the modern face of Guerlain. This is the gateway drug into Guerlain. And this was my gateway drug because I bought this first and then I bought the Extreme. And so now I'm a Guerlain guy, but I wasn't prior to this. So this is a perfect fall fragrance. You're going to get cherry and vanilla, almond, leather, and spices. It's a little bit powdery, but it's a dense, heavier fragrance. And the weird thing is, the more I get into fragrances, things get strange. I mean, this is known as the cherry fragrance. There was no cherry used in this at all. Not a single bit of cherry. Essentially, they used rose, a Bulgarian rose combined with vanilla and bitter almond to create the cherry note. So there's actually no cherry in it, but it sure does smell like cherry. It sure lasts a long time. This is a top 10 fragrance for me any time of year. Fragrance number 4 is the closest thing that you can get to niche for $50 that I've ever tried. This is Ombre Noir by Lalique. And this is by one of my favorite perfumers of all time, Karine de Broy-Serini. She's a little bit under the radar, but she's made some classics like Gucci Pour Homme too. And what she's famous for is for making warm, spicy, comforting fragrances that have complexity. And that's Gucci Pour Homme 2 in a nutshell. And that is also this fragrance. Now this is 90% warm, spicy, comforting. However, it opens with mint and fig leaf, which is a green feeling, but it doesn't just open with it. It lasts the entire length of the fragrance. It sounds strange, but it works because the brain focuses on the warm, spicy, comforting element, and it kind of ignores the green stuff until you go, oh, I can't smell that fig anymore. And then you kind of focus for it, you look for it, and you find it. That's the kind of complexity that people are not used to in a designer fragrance. This, when I said $50, it's actually a $70 fragrance at the discounters, but you can get it at the moment as a tester for $55, which is insane. It has cognac and tobacco, tonka, resins, and cinnamon. Performance is 6 to 8 hours. Moderate projection, but definitely noticeable. For $55, I mean, this one's hard to beat. Fragrance number 5 is a $40 car brand fragrance that I happen to believe is the best $40 you could spend on a non-clone fragrance on earth at the moment. This is Mercedes-Benz Club Black Eau de Toilette, and this is one of the best vanilla scents you're going to find, mainly because it's not just throwing a ton of vanilla at you. It is a nice masculine incensey vanilla. So you're going to get vanilla and benzoin, but you're going to get a little bit of bite from that incense that makes it really pleasant. And it's weird because when Altair, the fragrance of the year in 2024, came out, for the longest time, the fragrance that people were comparing it to most was this guy, this $40 fragrance. But you know why? Because when Mercedes-Benz were trying to look to expand their brand to make it more of a lifestyle brand, so they're making clothes, glasses, things like that, they decided they were going to make fragrances as well, but they went to a really good consulting company who hired Olivier Cresp, one of the greatest perfumers on earth. That's the only reason why a guy like that would be working for a car brand, because they don't really worry about their fragrances. Anyway, Cresp turned out an absolutely magnificent fragrance. Oh, and let's not forget, this thing is like, I would say for most people, I don't know, 6 to 8 minimum, like maybe more than that. So it projects like a ton too. Like this is an all-star. If you don't have this and you like vanilla, get it. Now, one thing I'm known to complain about is fragrances getting the name wrong. I've already done it once in the video. However, in this particular case, John Varvatos Vintage, I think they nailed it because this is relatively modern, 2006. But it definitely has a vintage feel to it. There are eight aromatic notes to give it, I'm not going to say old school, but a little bit of an old-fashioned vibe. When you're dealing with aromatic notes, that's what you're going to get. So the two aromatic notes I pick up the most are fir tree and juniper. So think, fresh evergreen kind of feel, a little bit. That's what I get more than anything from the aromatic element. But then you're going to get like all kinds of things. So it's like they threw everything in, because you're going to get tobacco. And a lot of people call this a tobacco fragrance. I think that's a mistake. So tobacco, you're going to get leather. You got the aromatic notes. Then you also get fruit. There's a quince note here, and then there's rhubarb, which has a fruity smell to it. And then you get tonka. So it's like this big mishmash, all coming together. But they got the name right, like vintage. It does have a vintage feel. The only problem with John Varvatos, I think if you're into fragrances, you'll know, is in this particular one, is performance. 3 to 4 hours. It's too bad. Some people get a little bit longer on their skin, but this is a good one for spraying on clothes, that kind of thing. Beautiful scent, though. Fragrance number 7 comes from a really good house, although it is relatively underrated. It's got some stiff competition. It is also a very sweet and powdery fragrance, which is perfect for fall. Sweet and powdery, great. It is Pegasus by Parfum de Marly. And what I love about this is the powderiness. Like normally, there's not a lot of vanilla fragrances that are very, very powdery, and I do like powdery things. I think it smells more sophisticated. So you're going to get a lot of vanilla, obviously. You're also going to get heliotrope and bitter almond, and heliotrope is a floral note that has an almondy smell to it. You're also going to get a little bit of lavender, but yeah, there's a lot of vanilla here. It is Parfum de Marly, but it's a really nice fragrance, and I think it's more on the sophisticated side for Parfum de Marly, and yeah, I always like that. Fragrance number 8 is definitely a legendary fragrance. If you're in the fragrance community, you will know that when you hear the name. It's been around for a long time. A lot of people really like it. It's a good, inexpensive fragrance. I think it's perfect for fall. It's also really good for Christmas. It is Burberry London. And yeah, this is exactly the kind of thing you want to wear in the fall. It's even got a little sweater, for crying out loud, which, is perfect for the occasion. A lot of people talk about this being the great Christmas scent, but I think it works fine for fall as well. Performance here, it's about average, but the scent here seems to be really popular. I'm not a huge fan, but I am not the be-all and end-all when it comes to fragrances. I know how popular this is. I know how many people like it. So basically, you're dealing with a Popinax, a lot of it. That is the sweetest resin you can get. You're also going to get tobacco. You're going to get some amber and a few other sweet notes. It smells a little bit Christmassy, like Christmas cake to a certain extent. I just think it's a legendary fragrance. It had to be on the list for fall. It is a perfect fall fragrance. Anyway, it really is. If you've been collecting for any length of time, if you've got a large collection, I think the larger the collection you have and the more experience you have with fragrances, the more you appreciate fall, because, you get into it a lot and you have so many fragrances to choose from and you want to be seasonal specific, and then you got a whole bunch of fragrances you can't wear. Now you can wear everything. It's the best season of them all.